We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
11, 10, 9. We have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Sideways shaking was unbelievable. The vibration was so intense you couldn't see the instrument panel. I thought we'd had it during the launch.
If I were president of the United States of America, the first thing I would do is paint that house in Washington, D.C. red. Then I'd go inside and retrieve the United States Constitution out of the toilet. And I'm serious, because the United States of America has now become a fascist empire.
The park bench. It was in flames and no firemen arrived. It was in flames and no cars stopped. We were all amazed by how much he knew. My instinct was to walk, and so I did. Somehow deep inside I understood this action. He said, "That's where it starts. This is where it ends." And I said, "That's..."
There's growing concern among Americans about the size and the scope of the federal government and its infringement upon state and individual rights.
If you're elected president, how do you plan to restore the 10th Amendment, hold the federal government only to those enumerated powers in the Constitution, and allow states to govern themselves?
Congressman, what's your answer for Brandy and Michael?
Well, obviously it would take more than one individual, but the responsibility of the president would be to veto every single bill that violates the 10th Amendment. That would be the solution. But because government is too big in Washington, D.C., it's run away. We have no controls of spending, taxes, regulations, no control in the Federal Reserve printing money. So if we want government, whether it's medical care or whatever, it's proper to do it at the local level as well as our schools. But there is no authority in the Constitution to do so much of what we're doing. There's no authority for them to run our schools, no authority to control our economy, and no authority to control us as individuals on what we do with our personal lives.
A new generation of surveillance drones could soon be watching us all from overhead. The Federal Aviation Administration is expected to announce plans to expand the use of domestic drones in American airspace. Eyes in the sky, similar to the unmanned aircraft that the United States has been using to target terrorists abroad. Here at home, the surveillance systems can be used to track terrorists or drug dealers, or to find missing children, or locate wandering Alzheimer's patients. Lots of different good uses, but the critics warn the use of drones presents a major threat to all of our personal privacy. Meantime, a newly discovered Air Force intelligence document leaked and posted online states, if drones capture surveillance footage of Americans incidentally, the data can be stored and analyzed by the Pentagon for up to 90 days. And that's not all. The Fox Report's chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt is with us. When are these drones likely to be flying, and how many of them might there be above our heads?
Well, there's a growing number already, Shep, but according to the experts, and indeed the FAA itself, there could be as many as 30,000 30,000 of these kind of drones, 30,000 flying overhead within the next decade. Now, obviously, law enforcement agencies love these drones, and they say they'll be able to save lives in things like hostage situations or search and rescue operations. But obviously, the privacy concerns are huge, because they will in effect bring every single backyard in America into the authorities' view. You've always had an expectation of privacy in your own backyard. You will no longer have it with these there, and there is essentially no real legislation currently written to curtail where they can go, to limit what they can see. That's the obvious concern.
The language on this document, Jonathan, incidentally getting video of Americans doing something. What does this mean?
Well, for instance, one of these drones is up, say, heading down to the US-Mexico border to check out the situation there. Or it's up looking over a traffic incident in downtown Chicago. But if they're on their way flying to either of those incidents, they look down, it records in your backyard footage, say, of a whole bunch of bags of fertilizer and some tomato plants. You working on it? Are those really tomato plants? Are they marijuana plants? Are you getting that fertilizer for your garden? Or are you getting it to make bombs? They then have a reason, they say, to keep that footage, analyze it for up to 90 days and start looking into all manner of things that you may or may not have been doing.
Is there going to be a new rule about everybody building an extra bedroom?
Yes, you cannot build an extra bedroom.
Well, I thought you were going to have to allow a member of the government to live in the house with you. No?
That may be where we're headed. The judge probably knows better than me on that.
It would probably better than I. It would probably be good for housing. Housing starts. Be good for construction workers.
And Jerry Willis can address that one as well. We have everybody at the table here to sort out the entire situation.
A member of government for everyone and a bedroom for all. Wow, wow. It's good and great now, John.
Welcome to Monday.
Drones for all. Thanks. Well. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano is with. They can't require us to build an extra bedroom, but I guess they can spy on us from ahead.
Well, they can't spy on us from ahead.
They really can't, can they?
No, they can't.
But they will.
Did you see any legislation enacted by the Congress or signed by the President or any amendment to the Constitution?
No.
Answer, no. These are regulations in which bureaucrats gave themselves the authority to capture images of us in the privacy of our backyards, and depending upon how low the drones fly, Jonathan can back me up, inside the home, if the drone is able to see inside the home, and to retain and analyze and distribute amongst members of the government what they find. This is not permitted by the Constitution. It's not permitted by federal law. The Congress didn't vote on it. The President's been silent about it. Bureaucrats did it on their own.
And this has been the case forever, and I know from working local television 15, 20, longer than that ago, if you, as a citizen, have a reasonable expectation of privacy,
the government will commit the crime. Shep, this is very serious. It's one thing for the government to do it. It's another thing for the Defense Department to do it. The Defense Department cannot engage in any activity in the United States of America without an executive order from the President that must be published. So if the President has authorized the Defense Department, Jonathan spoke about the Air Force, to fly drones over anybody's backyard and we don't know about it, then the President and the Air Force have violated numerous federal criminal statutes.
But nobody seems to much care.
Nobody seems to very much care. Why isn't the Congress up in arms? Same Congress that let the President bomb Libya is going to let his Air Force spy in our backyards, and like potted plants, they'll look the other way.
And there'll never be any sort of retribution for this. There'll never be anything. That's just suddenly there'll be tens of thousands of drones up in the air watching what we do. Now, if you're not doing anything, you might say, I'm not doing anything. I don't care. Well, should we just throw out the whole Constitution? Should we just run by a new set of rules? What should we do?
The Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Ninth Amendment were written to guarantee us the right to be left alone, meaning government stay out of our face. We are living perfectly normal, lawful lives. We don't want you in our faces as we do it. Suddenly the government, silently from 30,000 feet above, is violating those amendments.
It is quite a thing.
Say this is nothing more than the watchful eye of Big Brother keeping track of your every moment. 7 Action News reporter Julie Bonovich gives us a closer look at this high-tech system from Farmington Hills.
Your attention, please.
That voice you hear,
your attention, please,
came from this street light.
Please stand by for a public safety announcement.
In each lighting fixture or in each lighting pole, there's a processor very much like an iPhone. and it takes inputs and outputs, it talks back and forth, and the poles actually talk to each other. The ribbon is cut.
Inventor Ron Harwood unveiled the intelligent light in a ribbon-cutting ceremony. With funding help from the Department of Energy, Harwood's Farmington Hills company, Illuminating Concepts, started designing the wireless communication system after the horrors of September 11th and Hurricane Katrina.
And it became really obvious to myself and my staff that we could do something that would make people more informed, make them safer.
LED video screens and cameras add to the wireless infrastructure that is remotely controlled. It can provide entertainment, save energy, make announcements.
This is a security alert.
And it even counts people for police.
When I come into view of that streetlight, when I look at that camera, the person on the other side sees the white specks and the black marks, sensing that somebody's there. And if they want, they can even take my picture.
The system is also capable of recording conversations, making critics cry invasion of privacy.
This is not a system with spook technology. It's much more transparent. It can just talk to you and say, don't fall over Niagara Falls.
The basic light starts at $3,000, and by spring of next year, there's a good chance you could see them popping up in your city. In Farmington Hills, Julie Bonovich, 7 Action News.
This last week, the U.S. Congress passed a bill which repeals posse comitatus, which means that we have now institutionalized and codified martial law. Right now, the battle against terrorism involves all of us. Everybody in this country is a potential terrorist. And the words that they use in there to bring everybody in as a potential terrorist is any associated forces, which means that if you happen to visit a website, happen to attend a meeting, happen to do one association, you can be accused of being a terrorist, and the bill says you have no right to a lawyer. They've been abusive of this for many years, but now it's been codified. And this president, just about a year ago, announced that some of these bad people, even though they're American citizens, don't deserve even charges, that they can now be assassinated. We should be consciously aware of terrorism and deal with it, but to say that we're at war with the world and we can send a drone missile and send our troops any place we want is very, very dangerous. Endless wars, attack on civil liberties. This Patriot Act is not very patriotic, let me tell you. It's an invasion of your privacy, and I often wonder how many members of Congress would have voted for the Patriot Act if it would have been called the repeal of the Fourth Amendment. Big government is alive and well, but the grassroots are waking up.
Big Brother loves you.
No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
It was a human drama with emotions and tensions running high. Patty Connie is still trying to recover physically and emotionally.
They really did a number on me.
From the day police forced her from her home.
It was traumatic. All of a sudden, they were banging on the front door, the side door, and the back door. They said, let us in.
Patty tried to explain. She was on dry land, she had plenty of food and water, and didn't want to abandon her dogs. But it didn't matter.
If you see 6 or 8 police that look like linebackers pushing you in a corner, you're in shock. I'm saying, look at all my food. I got plenty of food. They kept pushing me back, and ended up like this.
Then, Patty showed them a small revolver she was carefully holding in the palm of her hand. A camera crew was there to capture what unfolded next.
I said, it's not even loaded. And I dropped it on the floor.
You got a gun?
Well, they punched me in the face. Look at my black and blue marks. Look at what they did to me. They dragged me out of here. I really thought they were going to kill me. I really did.
We were coming back across the lake is when we got stopped by Coast Guard and St. Tammany Sheriff's Department and the National Guard. by gunpoint.
We had identification. We were coming back from a house that we were taking the weapons out of so criminals wouldn't break in and steal them. And we've had policemen tell us that that's what they wanted us to do, but not the sheriff in St. Tammany. They just wanted to confiscate them from us.
We felt like criminals at the time when they come up to us with M16s or AR-15s, whatever it was, but there were 4 of them with rifles and holding on us with our hands in the air until they got in our boat.
So they got on the boat and they asked us, do you have any loaded weapons? Yes, we do. They're in the 2 back compartments. Wayne went to show them where the gun was, and he screams, don't touch it, don't even move, I'll get it.
I felt like it was un-American and then we had been violated when they took like I say, we were shell-shocked. We were just sitting around looking at each other and said, we just got our guns taken away from them.
They took them. And they didn't have a right to take them. They didn't have a reason to take them. That was the thing. We did nothing wrong. But they took them anyway. He said, be thankful we're taking your guns here. Why should I be thankful? Well, if they catch you with them on land, they're going to take you straight to jail.
We live in proof that all they have to do is say, look, this is the law.
You had that feeling that you were violated. They took something from you. They stole something from you. That's the only way to put it. They took something that they didn't have a right to take.
What'd you come and get my gun for? I'm a good citizen.
Marie Galatis, a Baptist minister, faced the same story in her neighborhood. The same threats by thugs, the same lack of police. But she never once felt afraid.
And I had my Bible, and I had my gun, and I knew I was safe. And I tell you what, I'm a Annie Oakley if you come fool with me or my family. I'm gonna let you have it, buddy.
Marie knows she was lucky. She was never forced to leave home and didn't have her firearm confiscated.
It's going against my constitutional rights as a citizen.
But Marie remembers how upset she got when the police department threatened to take her firearm.
You're letting the thugs get away with everything, and you're coming to honest, good citizens and taking away their protection, and it is wrong, wrong, wrong.
What I feel is that we're losing control of who we are as a nation.
Robert Zoss was forced to evacuate when a tree destroyed both of his family's homes.
Loaded with dogs, kids, people.
Then, as they were exiting through downtown, the unexpected happened.
These cops came out of nowhere, said stop, and asked, do we have weapons in the car? And I told him, yeah, I do. He said, get out the vehicle, had us all sit cross-legged in front while they searched the vehicle. I had a .22 long rifle. My tenant's girlfriend had a .22 pearl handle revolver given to her by her grandmother or grandfather.
But Robert couldn't believe what he watched police do next to his rifle and his friend's pearl handle revolver.
I saw them smash her gun given to her by grandmother, grandfather, just against the curb. The other things that they busted up, the .22 rifle they busted up, these were police officers that went too far. We didn't have any rights. I mean, they treated us like criminals. They treated us like if we were in a third world country. I was scared because these guys weren't doing it by the book. There was mayhem. New Orleans police did not have control of the city anymore. So the only plan they thought, I guess, was to take the guns away from the people. Heed the warning of what this was. You know, this is like Australia. All of a sudden, boom, they got our rights.
Okay, this is a Browning 270. It's my deer rifle. And this is a Savage 7mm 08. This belongs to my grandson. And this was the 2 rifles that they confiscated. We left about 6 o'clock in the morning. We started across Lake Pontchartrain. As we came out under the drawbridge, a St. Tammany Parish sheriff's boat run up with their lights flashing, told us to pull over. So we pulled over, and they pulled in about 20 foot from us. And they had 5 guys in the boat, and they had assault weapons, and they pointed them at us and asked if we had any weapons on board. I told them yes, we had 2 weapons. They said, get at the back of the boat with your hands in the air. We're coming aboard to search. They got the guns, they opened the case and looked at them. I was standing at the back of the boat with my hands in the air. Automatic rifles pointed at you, I mean, you don't have any choice. I mean, they didn't just have them pointed from their hip, they had them up at their shoulder pointed, you know. I mean, they weren't playing. They asked where we were going. Told them we were contractors for Pala Interstate. We were going to New Orleans to find a route to come in with a barge. So they said, okay, we're seizing these weapons. So I said, I want a receipt for my guns. They said, no, we're not giving receipts. They said, if we give receipts, we'd be out here all day writing receipts for all the weapons we've confiscated. It made me angry when they told me to go get a lawyer if I wanted my guns back. That's when I really got angry. They didn't care what your rights were. They were going to deny them. It's not America as we've known it before. It's changing.
High-ranking member of the NOPD is revealing information about a special meeting involving the department's top brass and an order that was handed down shortly after the storm.
WDSU I-Team investigative reporter Travers Mackel is live with a story you will only see on 6.
Rachel, in the days following Hurricane Katrina, when most of the city was underwater, many high-ranking members in the New Orleans Police Department were called to a meeting at the shuttered Harrah's Casino downtown, and they were told by the man in charge to shoot looters. Now, one person at that meeting is speaking out. Captain Harry Mendoza currently runs the police department's training academy. Mendoza and at least one other officer at that meeting both say then Deputy Superintendent Warren Riley, the man who would go on to become police chief in New Orleans, gave an order to everyone at the meeting that they were taking the streets back. The message, do what you have to do.
Chief Riley, at that time, called together all the people that we had collectively were involved in our operation there and made an announcement to that entire group where he instructed the members of the New Orleans Police Department that on this day he was initiating that we begin to shoot looters in the city of New Orleans, that he was ordering us to take the street back and to start shooting looters that day. When questioned about that specific order, his response was, if you can sleep with it,
Walking around.
It done.
Well, are you doing it because you need it, or you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we have no means to wash clothes, we have no food, sure.
A lot of the people here say they don't feel bad taking the stuff. One, because they need it. But two, they said the police said it was okay. And we actually saw the police. They're in aisle 3.
Hold on to it. How you doing?
Hi, what you doing here?
I'm doing my job.
Taking shoes?
No, looking for looters.
Looking for looters? And what do you do when you find them? Because I think I've seen them.
That's all I can do with them right now, sir.
They're all around us, though.
That's what I see. Include you. What are you doing?
I haven't taken anything, ma'am.
But you're in the store, huh?
They don't quite look your color. Okay. You know, one of the things that strikes you is, of course, a Walmart is a store that everybody knows, and to walk in it and see it as a free-for-all like that is, well, you can't help but laugh sometimes, even though it is grossly against the law. To see the police, though, that was a shock.
I think it was like the second day we were there, this red-headed lady came up to our platoon's area, and she sat, or to our company area, she sat on the curb with her knees in her chest, just rocking back and forth, crying uncontrollably. She sat there for almost 27 hours, just refused to move. We talked to her, we did everything we could, just didn't want to, you could tell she had been through enough. She'd been repeatedly raped by men in NOPD masks and NOPD uniforms.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So we were told, at that point we were told the NOPD obviously isn't our friend, we need to start watching them. The FBI had us out there at Cooter Brown, and kind of get the word out there for those that still have that slight hesitation in the back of their head that gun confiscation can't and won't happen here. It already has. And I was only 21 years old, just really gung-ho, really dedicated to the Army, especially to the infantry. And I did whatever I was told.
And what did they ask you to do?
Let's see, the first thing we did was we got a 3-week, a book full of 3-week-old 911 phone calls, right? And then we had to go around and answering all the phone calls. So we were like cadaver dogs for about 3 weeks. And in between them, we would run night missions. And here's the thing. A lot of people may think that they'll see this on the news or they'll have time to get ready when the crap hits the fan or whatever. It's just, it's a truck, you know what I mean? It's a group of trucks. They pull up, they stack right on your home, as we did, and we broke entry. Yeah, we would yell out, Oklahoma Army National Guard, is anybody in need of assistance? But that's as we were booting in the door. A week after Katrina, I was watching it on the news, and Sheriff Kamiko of Fox 23 told me before my unit even got a hold of me that I was going to New Orleans.
Wow.
We got sent in, and we were the very, very first boots on the ground. Alpha Company.
And you were confiscating firearms?
Left and right, yes. And we were also monitoring the New Orleans police because we kept having, like the first day we had this little beautiful redheaded lady come up.
All right, wait.
Well, it's a bill that has received very little attention but may make free speech a felony and seriously restrict your right to political protest. Just signed into law by the president, H.R. 347 gives federal agents sweeping powers to arrest and bring felony charges against citizens engaged in protests where the Secret Service is present. Joining us now with more, Fox News senior judicial analyst, good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, the thing that jumps out off the page, felony?
Yeah, felony means more than a year in jail. This is not like a traffic ticket for standing and protesting, the type of thing that for 230 years Americans took for granted because it was protected by the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech has actually been abridged by legislation the president signed last Thursday, supported overwhelmingly by both parties, with very, very little public debate and very little debate in Congress. Basically allows Secret Service agents to decide where there are no free speech zones, not speech zones, no free speech zones. And anybody by the Secret Service protected by the Secret Service, can ask those agents to ban protests wherever they are. So I can think of 3 violations: speech violations, association violations, the right to petition the government for a redress of your grievances. What good is free speech if the people in the government are so far away from you that they can't
news
hear
crew
you?
has been freed on bail after spending around 32 hours in a US jail. They were taken into custody in the state of Georgia whilst filming an annual rally near a military base nicknamed the School of Assassins.
Locally in news, in California, a woman by the name of Amy Larson wrote in chalk on the floor 9/11 Truth and 9/11 Truth Now. As a result of her chalk writing, police arrested her and she was detained. She was held in jail for 30 hours. She says she could have left earlier. However, it would have cost $10,000 to post bail. Now, Miss Larson is a self-described political activist who had never been arrested. Larson said she was returning from the farmer's market after buying fruits and vegetables when she started writing the statements on the sidewalk. Again, those statements were 9/11 Truth and 9/11 Truth, 9/11 Truth Now. A police officer then stopped to talk to her, then left, she said. I was never told not to chalk the sidewalk, said Larson, who is married and works in a wine cellar. 5 to 10 minutes later, the officers returned with her boss in an SUV. She was first detained, then arrested for investigation of felony vandalism and booked at the Napa County Jail.
Now, earlier, I discussed this issue with independent reporter, journalist Brandon Jordan, who experienced firsthand what it's like to have his First Amendment rights violated. Here's part of my interview.
Well, I think people have a certain amount of freedom in the press if they do their job according to what the government thinks they should be doing. Now, when someone does the type of work I do, which is oftentimes cover demonstrations and capture events sometimes that may be controversial, maybe not so much freedom. Along with lengthy border searches, when I say lengthy, I mean anywhere from 2 to 8 hours every time I enter the country, having my hard drive copied, all of my business cards copied, my journal copied, along with interrogation. I have that, and then of course I've been arrested a number of times, documenting police brutality at demonstrations like one in D.C. where people were protesting against for different policies in regards to climate change and the wars in the Middle East. Yeah, I was arrested and just doing my job.
What's up, man?
How you doing today, sir?
Good.
You a U.S. citizen?
That's my business.
Well, it's our business to ask. Are you a U.S. citizen or not?
You can ask, that's fine.
And you have to answer me, or I have to detain you until you can either tell me that you're a U.S.
Well, I don't have to answer you because I have rights as an American.
Sir, go ahead and pull over there. We're behind that other vehicle if you do me a favor.
No thanks. I'd like to just go on my way.
You can go on your way as soon as you tell me if you're a U.S. citizen.
Well, you know, I didn't know that I have to go around proving that I'm a citizen. Do I need to, like, show my papers like the Nazis, or... I'm not... Am I immigrating somewhere, or... Is this Mexico, or...
United States. Just answer the question yes or no.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, is this Nazi Germany now? I have to show my papers?
Simple yes or no. You can either answer or we can detain you here until we figure out whether you're a U.S. citizen.
Well, you know what's more simple is the fact that my freedom is a little more important than you seem to think. And that, you know, setting up checkpoints where people have to prove that they're a citizen is not something that America is supposed to be about. So I'm not sure if you understand that.
Huh?
No.
He doesn't want to tell me his citizenship.
Well, I'm just driving down the road here, and I've been stopped for some reason, and I'm, you know, supposed to... No, thank you.
I want you to pull up secondary, sir.
No, thanks. I want to go free on my way.
Okay.
I'm, you know, here I am, just going about my own business, and, you know, I don't need to stop at a checkpoint where I have to prove who I am, because this is America. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, did I stumble into Mexico, or is it still the United States?
It's the United States.
Okay, well then therefore I should have the freedom to travel unmolested, because I'm in America here. So...
Go ahead, go.
Go ahead and go where?
Keep going on the road.
Okay, see you later.
Well, we're tracking a controversial measure that could eventually affect every American who owns a car. Beginning in 2015, it will require all new cars to be fitted with a black box data recorder, much like the devices that are in airplanes right now. So what does this mean for your civil liberties? We wanted to ask our senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, who gets to be face-to-face today, not in another
what
studio.
What a pleasure to be here with
nice
you,
to have
Jenna,
you with
instead
us,
of down
Judge.
in the basement.
We decided to upgrade you.
Thank you.
Just for today.
I hope I am worthy of it.
We'll see how it goes, Judge.
All right.
So if black boxes are in planes, what's the big deal about having them in cars?
Well, it's very interesting that the Congress would try to do this, because the police in the District of Columbia and Maryland did this not too long ago, where they put GPS devices on people's cars without search warrants, and the Supreme Court invalidated it, saying it's an unlawful search, that quite frankly it's none of the government's business where the car is going, and if the police want to know where the car is going, there has to be some evidence of criminality and they have to get a search warrant. Now, the Supreme Court didn't make this up out of thin air. It's in the Constitution. The police just can't investigate whoever they want on a whim or follow whoever they want because they like following the person. There has to be some evidence of wrongdoing on the part of the person they're following.
Well, as we understand the legislation, it was a part of a transportation bill that is not part of the House bill, and it gets too much in the weeds to really go into it, other than it has been a proposal that has made its way in some way through Congress. But one of the parts of the legislation would be that it's my property. So if I own the car, I own the black box. So it's my property. It's not the police.
But the police would be able to obtain the information inside the property using electronic means. Now, question, can the police aim a beam at your car and extract information from it? Can they aim a beam at your house and extract information from it? The Supreme Court ruled on that last year, and it said no. So this legislation flies in the face of what the Supreme Court has just ruled to protect our privacy.
But he left one final warning.
1984 is, I believe, a quite terrifying masterpiece.
So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I am not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think it is a good idea, but the execution would have been better if I had not been under the influence of TB when I wrote it.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.